Question: how would you answer the objection to your Lego analogy that it is a false analogy because evolution deals with self-replicating molecules, but Lego blocks are not self-replicating?
Okay, I'll go first, and then Diane can have a crack at that one too. We also ask at our museum what we thought would be a tough question, and the adults find it tough, but the kids find it easy. And the question is simple: how many Lego blocks would you need to prove creation? Now, the adults puzzle over that one and sort of think of the issues like you're raising, Shogiwa, and the kids say one. And when you ask them why one, and their answer is because Lego doesn't happen by itself. Now, when you are making the claim this is a false analogy because evolution deals with self-replicating molecules, we do not know any example of a hydrogen that makes copies of itself. We do not know any examples of a carbon that makes copies of itself. So the statement is false right at its bottom. There are no molecules that make copies of themselves simply starting from scratch. And to be honest, scratch in this case is nothing, right? Zero, zilch. There's not even space, right? So when you come to the evolutionists, don't be sidetracked by saying, but RNA can make copies of itself. No, RNA exists on a planet where there's already oxygen and water and things like that. Let's go back to the starting point. There's not even space, right? That is the starting point for the evolutionist. He loves to sneak in space and matter and all of these things as for the millions of years of absolutely impossible circumstances before he has his RNA ready to go. So in reality, you will find that he's cheating big scale and hoping you don't notice it. So Shogiwa, there's no such thing as self-replicating space. There's no such thing as self-replicating hydrogen. There's no such thing as your question is based on. So it's a false analogy to use that statement. Diane, any comments?
Yes, well, what properties enable it to be self-regulating? In fact, not all molecules are self-regulating, so you need to ask the question, what's the difference between a self-regulating one and a non-self-regulating one? And the difference is the information that is actually coded in those self-regulating ones. So in fact, that's more evidence for creation. It's not evidence for evolution.
Well, 50 years ago, my parents gave me, to keep the Lego analogy going, one of those motorized Legos. And, you could use it to do all sorts of things that Lego wouldn't normally do, I suppose. But the machinery inside that, the batteries and the motor inside that, was obviously intelligent design. And that's like the machinery, I suppose, of replication. You have to explain how that comes about in the first place, which is basically what you've both been saying.
I mean, ultimately, if you can't make something that's simpler than DNA do something that DNA does, it just speaks volumes to how designed DNA is. So it's
it's a multi-step process anyway.
Yeah. Well, DNA itself is on four. It runs on 4 dimensions, so it's way beyond anything that we can try and comprehend with regards to computer coding. All right.
Well, DNA is not actually self-regulating. It on its own, it cannot regulate itself. It takes dozens of other molecules in order for it to be replicated.